The Bret Easton Ellis Podcast.
Hi, this is Judd Apatow. Hear my conversation with Bret Easton Ellis on podcast1.com. My work, that is all I am trying to do, is show people, just trying to get through it, trying to make it work as well as they can, and that life is an obstacle. There's always something happening, and so I'm always rooting for people.
The Bret Easton Ellis Podcast. New episodes now at podcast1.com. That's podcastone.com.
Download the show from podcast1.com.
If you can't be there for the holidays, then send flowers. They're the best gift ever. They're simple, they're classy, they're beautiful. Send 100 blooms of Christmas palms from ProFlowers. Go to proflowers.com, click on the microphone in the top right corner and type in ask. That's proflowers.com, click on the microphone and type in ask.
The following program is a podcast1.com production. Podcast1.com presents the Ask Women Podcast. A place where two comics and a professional wing girl get together to dissect the female mind.
You don't know how I feel.
And explain it to men in terms they can actually understand. Boobs. Now, here's the lovely ladies of Ask Women.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Ask Women Podcast, where you get real advice straight from the source. I'm Kristen Carney, one of your co-hosts, along with, of course, Marni Kinrys, the best-selling author and relationship
And relationship coach? Relationship coach?
She's a relation slush.
She's so relation right now.
And Mo is the...
I know, my boobs are massive right now.
They are looking very large.
It is this shirt.
And your shirt is not like a shirt that would emphasize breasts, so that's showing how big
Yeah,
they
how much
actually
bigger
look.
they are. I know, they're massive.
Yeah.
I
And
love
I know, I cover them up usually. I got big boobs.
Well, the other thing we should cover up is Mo, who's with us also today.
Hey.
Of course. Hey, it's Mo. So you guys, before we get to anything else, I want to talk to you about the fact that I just ordered flowers on proflowers.com for my grandmother for Christmas. I have made the mistakes in the past because my grandmother lives in Utah. I clearly do not, thank God. And like I've ordered them maybe like the day before and I never get really what I want. This is the time. This is your last window to order anything online for flowers. If someone lives far away from you, this is the way in to their heart. I always order my grandma flowers every year. This year I got roses on ProFlowers. They were super affordable for roses because roses are always really expensive. I got a striped candy cane vase. It was like $29.99 and like $5 for the vase. If you buy roses anywhere, they're always way more expensive than that. And I also feel really awesome about what I did because she will get her flowers on Christmas Eve. I look really good. My brother and sister are going to look really bad. So I suggest doing that because that's definitely a way to get a gift for somebody that you can't really be next to. Do what I did. Go to proflowers.com and there's a little microphone up in the top. Click that and then type in ask and then it will bring you, it'll say like, hey, Ask Women listener, and then you'll get to feel really proud while you're shopping. Go to their website and do that, the little microphone. Must do it soon because the order expires midnight on Friday. So do your shopping last minute, 11:59, be a real man, but do it before midnight on Friday. Go to proflowers.com, look for the little microphone button at the top right-hand side of the page, and then click that, and all you have to do is type in ask. It's not like you do a dash ask anything code. They just literally say like, what's your password? Ask. And you can also do it by calling 1-800-PRO-FLOWERS and then mention ask to them on the phone. Super easy.
By the way, I will say that you know you're going to get a professional experience with Pro Flowers because it's in the name. It's
Right.
not amateur flowers.
You know, I don't want to mention a competitor, but I had a horrible experience with a very well-known competitor twice. I ordered flowers for a birthday, for my grandmother's birthday. She's probably like, all right, I get it, flowers. Like, think of something else. Twice for her birthday, they didn't deliver. They called me and said, we're out of those flowers. And this was from a competitor, and I've never had that happen on Pro Flowers.
It's not going to happen with Pro
No,
Flowers.
I always trust Pro Flowers, so. Pro
Flowers.
Pro Flowers, Pro Flowers, Pro Flowers. Promo code ASK. I feel like the magic of podcasting is that we have recorded some episodes.
No, don't give away our
Should I give it
secret.
away?
Don't
I was
give
going to say
away.
that too. Like, should we tell?
Yeah. I feel like, you know, it's
I
a
think
little...
we've been busted though. I'm
Of
sure.
course,
I'm sure we fucked up.
Yeah, because it's hard to speak currently about something that's like not actually happening, or like
Yeah.
saying like last week for something that's supposed to be happening 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, now we're busted. We pre-record
Sorry,
shows
I had
sometimes.
to bust it because I feel a little bit rusty.
Yeah. Well, because we all
I
go
haven't
away.
had-
We have a life.
Since we haven't taped in a couple weeks, I have not had one conversation. So I
haven't
feel
talked in-
really weird.
I know. You
No.
need to get like it's a good thing. We were actually on. I'm going to say this wrong. Brandy Glanville.
Yes.
Okay, not Brandy Melville. Brandy Lovell.
Well, we love the store brand.
right. Exactly.
So
Although
like,
their staff is horrible.
they're the worst staff. And I
Yeah,
actually went
so
on
rude.
Yelp the other day because I was like, are people commenting on how horrible their staff is?
Are they?
And they are.
Yeah, they
I'm not
should.
because I'm not one of those people, but I actually am. But
Well, I
pretend
asked
I'm not.
them, is this your thing? Like,
to be snotty, like it's a thing. It's their brand.
And they were like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, are you being serious? Because I have an armful of stuff and I've asked you 5 times where something is and you don't answer. You literally walk by me.
I love that you said that. It's because they're all like 16 to 18 years old, and they have no concept of how much the world is actually like going to be against them eventually when they're like older and not having the ability to wear cropped shirts anymore.
Exactly. So they're living blissfully right now.
It's a clothing store for all the men.
Yeah, that we're obviously very bitter against. But we were on Brandy Glanville's show before coming in here. So
from
Kristen
the Real Housewives.
So Kristen and I are warmed up. But we actually were talking to her about cheating. And we didn't go that much into it because we were only on for about 15 minutes. But we're going to have her on our show, to talk more about cheating, because I think that's an interesting topic about being cheated on and cheating on others.
Well,
cheating
for everyone
is
who's
a great topic to talk about.
For everyone though who's not aware, we can say this obviously when she comes back, but she was in a very infamous cheating scenario with Eddie Cibrian and Leanne Rimes.
Yes, where she was married as well, and they were going behind her back. And
More
I think,
like Leanne Crimes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I have
2 weeks off.
2 weeks, I'll get there.
I think it's okay for guys to cheat on women. And let me tell you why. And I'm just going to say it right off the bat, okay? Because
all right,
we should have like a
buzzer.
Yes. It's like the Gong Show with Mo. Yeah. Like everything he says is going to be gonged.
Well, look, you can buzz me on this, but look, okay. No, a guy cheats on a girl not because he doesn't love the woman he's with. It's just because he wants to get his rocks off.
Because he has friends like you that just teach him like things that are so wrong in life that like bros. You have like the bro code or something.
But listen.
But he gets off the show and he's a pussy. Come on.
He totally.
No,
he loves his girl.
you don't know me.
It's all the things he wants, but he would never ever do.
But listen, that is true as well, though. When we are around our bros, right, and then there's the one girl that the whole group wants to bang, that will force a man to cheat on his girl because it just becomes a competitive nature between your boys.
Totally makes sense in this logical world that
but
we
look,
live in.
when a girl,
well, it's like sports,
and we've gotten into this argument before. I think when a girl cheats on a guy, there's an emotional investment in this guy that she's cheating with, whereas a guy, I can see a girl
not with Eddie Cibrian and Leanne Rimes.
Right.
Well, that's different.
He's obsessed with her.
But
how is it different?
I walked in and I saw Brandy here. She was hot. I would have went and had sex with her in the bathroom.
That's because she had no bra on. Her nipples were out. Do you like her face or do you like her nipples?
You know, everything about her I liked, and I would have had sex with in the bathroom
have a face?
right now.
I didn't see it.
Exactly.
She did have
but see, that's the thing.
hard
You would
nipples.
want to have sex with her. I don't think you would cheat.
No.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. So
wait, hold on.
You just said I would have cheated with her.
I'm saying in my mind, I could have had sex with her right now and justified it completely to where I could have went home and kissed my woman.
That Mo's mind is like hidden behind this like beautifully shined scalp right now. Like that's where all this magic is happening.
It's so you can
we can literally see what's happening though, like through your
the
head.
shine starts moving around. It's like he's thinking with his like a man part of the brain over here.
Like lights up suddenly as soon as he gets a hard on or something.
I think cheating's okay. Sometimes.
Wait. Okay, cheating's okay sometimes.
For men only, though. Women are excluded.
But you would be okay if you cheated.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd find it. I'd justify a way
with your girlfriend.
Mo is just saying this to get more Twitter followers right
Seriously.
now.
Seriously.
No.
But,
women don't think the way we think.
But explain more. That it's okay. That you would be okay to cheat.
Because, look, for me, it's just living out my evolutionary purpose, which is just to blow some load on as many gazelle as possible.
Well, we're going to talk to David Boos about this, actually, because he's coming onto our show for the second half of the show, and he wrote the book, The Evolution of Desire, which I've been talking about for a long time and saying, I'm going to talk about it, but then I never do because I've been waiting to get him on the phone because he can actually explain it way better. But he does talk about cheating and the evolutionary and biological reasonings behind cheating. And I wonder if he would agree that it would be okay for men to cheat.
You know what?
To blow their load on many gazelles. as like they medically put it.
It's the medical terminology.
But I do want to say really quickly, it's happy birthday to Marnie, which I feel bad because I didn't say at the beginning.
I'm older.
That's okay.
It's not fun
I'm
once
younger.
you're past 25.
I thought you were 23.
I mean, I am. I go backwards, so
If you dressed up as a hot schoolgirl, you'd so look.
Am I not dressed up as a hot schoolgirl right now?
I'm just saying, like, I'm having a hot schoolgirl fantasy.
I got like a tight top on, little leggings.
I'm having way too much Mo.
Sexiest I've ever been on this show.
Is too much Mo.
2 weeks. 2 weeks, not enough.
I would cheat on Mo. You know, it's like I would cheat on a guy that has no soul. Yeah. So it would definitely be Mo.
But not your
but like, yeah, my own boyfriend who's like very loving and warm, who's like a real human being.
Wait a minute. I am loving and warm and human. I'm just real. I'm just giving it to you.
The thing is, you are being real. Every single time that I think about this topic, I always think about Mike and Holly, who were on our show, and like the open world that they live in.
Every time before I go to sleep, I think about Mike and Holly.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm just kidding.
But like, okay, I keep talking about this open community, the sexy lifestyle.
So weird.
It's not so weird. It's so weird
because
like
a cult.
But we still have to go to the party with them.
I can't go. I decided.
No, we have to
But
go.
to go see these things, like once you're in it, it's not as grand of an idea, and it's like real.
Because you just see like sweat and hair and balls, and it's disgusting.
What do you think happens at these events? Just sweat and hair and balls.
Good conversation. Whatever happened to good conversation? Nice jazz.
I honestly feel like I would have amazing conversations with people there. It wouldn't all be about sex. It's just like this open community.
Yeah.
Who's like free.
Yeah, I would just
Which
like
is
sleep with a guy
awesome.
just to talk about politics, and like while we're doing it.
I think I would end up disappearing in rooms.
Would
with
you?
people. I'm
going to go to this event with Mo, I think, because I want to see. I want my husband to come with me. We talked about it. I just eased him into it.
Really? And he's cool with it?
Just going. He's not like, okay,
he's
I'm going to a
dude
bedroom.
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
he'd get hit on a
chicks,
lot, which
yeah,
would be
chicks are going to be
huge.
down for that, yeah.
I know. That might be like a re-sparker for
Now,
us.
let me ask you, would you be okay watching him have sex with another girl?
In my mind, I think no.
Yeah.
But
That's a
I
no
don't
then.
know. The thing is, I don't know because I'm thinking again of grand ideas. Do I want my husband to like be doing stuff to another woman? No. But would I actually find it sexy in reality if I was there and also doing something to her? Maybe I have absolutely no idea. I think because we're so afraid of these things and what it could potentially do to us that we stay away from them. So I don't know. That's the answer. Is I don't know. But I think it's a part of our human nature. Like just as you were saying before, it's part of your biological calling to, what was it, jizz on as many Giselles as possible? Is that what it is?
Gazelles or
Gazelles?
like Giselle,
Okay.
the model or the
That's what
horse?
I-
Almost like jizz on a Giselle. No.
That's what I thought he said, Giselles. Anyway, but like, because it might be a part of who we are, but because of the way that the world works now, we don't do those things. Like even on Brandy's show, we were talking about like these men that she hangs out with, who are her friends, who date every night new women. They're 50 years old. They say that they want relationships, but they keep going online and finding all of these women. And I was like, well, maybe they like it. It's kind of nice to have all these options and have fun and have good experiences.
Yeah.
Man,
It just doesn't seem genuine. Like you have back in the day in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whenever you didn't have all this technology, and it was like you saw someone and you might have connected to them and you spoke to them and you might have had love at first sight kind of thing that like doesn't exist anymore because people aren't open to it. They're like, I'm just going to go online and focus on the computer, and it's just lacking a heart, you know.
I get what you're saying, but I also think, I think that people still do have those experiences online, but they have it sometimes with a fictional person, or
Yeah, which is
I don't
kinda
know.
sad.
But I don't know because there's some wonderful things that happen online as well.
There's a new movie coming out that touches upon it's a movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I forgot the name.
yeah.
He never
I think
meets
it's
her,
called
right,
She.
or something.
She's a computer.
It's called She. It's really good.
That sounds
It looks
cool.
really good.
Yeah, she basically is like, I don't know, a computer system that helps him schedule his life, and she becomes the voice is done by Scarlett Johansson.
yeah.
But it's interesting because you see how connected he is to that, because like he doesn't have to worry, and you know he's vulnerable because like he's open to the less pressure of it or something. And he's a nervous person, he's awkward, he's uncomfortable, and he's comfortable with that.
It's like this. It's this computer that's like a glorified Siri from Apple, and he's a very lonely person living a very lonely life by himself.
Yeah, still very
experiencing
handsome.
these things on a very lonely level. And then when Suri comes in his life, or this she, I'm gonna call her Suri.
Yeah,
Then
Suri
he
too.
starts seeing the beauty
Tom
in life,
Cruise's
having
daughter.
that companionship.
That's really nice.
But it's
sad and like depressing because it's a computer. So you actually see how deeply lonely he actually is. But I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet. This is all.
no, that sounds amazing.
yeah.
Oh, it's called Her, not She.
Her.
Okay, thank
Her.
you.
We knew
I
it
can't
was
read what you're saying. Oh my god.
she. It was her.
He, she, it, her.
It was
Oh my
called
God.
he, she, and it started transvestite.
In Mo's version.
My eyes are so bad, I literally couldn't see what he wrote.
It's okay.
That was pencil, right? It was massive. I know. I have the worst eyes ever.
Don't worry, your boobs work fine.
I know. That's all that matters. These eyes are all that matters, right?
And they're crossing.
Looking at you. They're crossing, exactly. You know what? Okay, I do have, it's very embarrassing. I get very nippy when I'm at the gym. And my sports bras don't have padding.
I get nippy too, and I have no boobs. I have to wear 2 sports bras to the gym, not for the support, but for the nipple coverage.
See, I should start doing that. But because my boobs are so big, when it goes into my sports bra, sometimes they get off angle.
Right.
And so I don't realize it until I'm like, doing my weights. And I'm like, wait, one nipple is down here and one is up. And it looks like I'm a deformed.
Right.
It's horrible and really embarrassing.
I wish I had that issue. Mine don't move from the one spot they're in. They're there. They're stuck.
But that's good. They can just stay, and they look like you have normal breasts. I look very strange, like a robot.
It's really
I look
funny.
like her.
Yeah,
Very
like one is like at 90-degree angle.
No,
the
that's
other's
literally
like
what it's like. Like one is up here and one is down there.
Yeah.
It's very.
I told you it's crossing.
It's crossing, exactly.
Cross-eyed nipples.
Very, very horrible.
Now, listen, we were talking about this before we started the show. We got a question from a caller, and it was about how men watching porn changes the way they interact with women.
Absolutely.
And I actually really agreed with that, and I wanted to talk to you girls about it.
Yeah.
Because I do, I'm a dude, I'm addicted to porn. I probably watch it once a day and throw one crank in there too. I'm just saying, that's how most guys are. Let's throw it out there. But now
we would not have been friends in high school. We wouldn't have been friends in high school.
Because you totally would have. Yeah. You probably would have dated.
Yeah, we probably would. We probably would.
With a full head of hair?
He would have grossed me out. I'd be like, I don't know. He's like this weird
Freddie
foreign
Prinze
brand.
Jr., you would have loved it. I actually slept with half my high school. It was awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Then
It was a very small. It was a very small high school. It was like 2 people.
It was about 2,500 kids.
Wow, that's pretty good.
I'll put in work.
Stud.
But it is very true. I watch a lot of porn, and it's like caused me to have these fantasies where I'm always thinking about porn positions, and I want to do these, like I want to finish on her face or do all these porno type of things.
Yeah.
How is that?
I've had a lot
women?
of guys write into me as well and really break down how they actually view women now, because it's like it's kind of like the movie you were just talking about. It's this different sphere of reality that they're suddenly in, where they're like, okay, all women act like this. All women, who you come to fix their computer and suddenly they take their shirts off and they want to have sex with you. Like, that's the reality. So why doesn't this woman want it? She's difficult. I'm going to find a woman who does, or I'll go home and watch porn again. So and they would paint the picture of like how they would literally walk down the street looking at women and really just like, it's not even objectifying them, it's viewing them as objects, as sexual objects, which it's nice to be seen as a sexual being, but it's like they look past us
when you're just
really
whole,
just
essentially
the sexual,
just somewhere to put something.
Yeah, so I think it does skew your view, obviously, if you're watching it way too much.
Basically,
same thing with masturbating.
Your view
too much.
turns into Marnie's nipples at the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
It really does change things.
Yeah, but I also do think that watching porn is healthy. I think that, even back to Mike and Holly, being voyeuristic, I am a voyeur. I enjoy watching porn. Do I watch it every single day? No, but I probably watch it maybe once every couple of months, and then sometimes that is with my husband, and sometimes it's not with my husband. And I enjoy it because I think it's sexy and interesting. But I think when you do start watching it every single day, and that becomes your reality and your outlet instead of real human beings, I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it changes the way that you view the world.
It becomes some people's my Seinfeld.
Yeah.
It's almost the way they live their they live their life by it. It's screwed up, and it's this fake world that doesn't really exist. I'm screwed up because I have this theory of everything should be like Seinfeld. It's the same thing, just mine's not as sexually perverse, but just as strange.
But I totally hear what you're saying. Even I forget what show it was that I was watching, but I would think in terms of whatever show I was really into at that time. Oh, how would that character handle it, or that's so what that person would do. Yeah, your brain does start to go in that direction, to think in that way. And I'm not really sure what to discuss for the man's playbook for today on this topic, because I don't want to advise people to stop watching porn, and I don't want to say people, go watch porn. I just think that when you use that as your primary outlet for your I don't even know for what, for your happiness, that it can fuck you up.
Yeah.
Well, I just think everything in general has to be done in moderation.
Yeah.
Once you're not doing anything, exercise, eating too healthy, music, just be I'm listening to the same song on repeat right now for the past 3 days. I feel insane.
Yeah.
It's a great song, but I need to move on.
Yeah.
anything done over is just got to be, I'm not awesome for the man's playbook, but I would just say anything in moderation is fine.
Yeah.
So take a step back, ask yourself if you're watching this too often, and if your perception has changed, go walk down the street and try to catch yourself thinking something about a woman, and then say, okay, that doesn't feel healthy. I want to reevaluate the way that just went down.
That's a really good. And then take a break from watching porn.
Right.
I do want to say one thing.
Like, I always take a break. I mean, I'd say I take at least a 2-week break every 2
from
months
watching porn?
from watching Seinfeld.
There you go.
You don't watch porn.
Of course I don't.
Exactly.
Well, my boyfriend, sometimes like whatever, and like
Does it bother you that he watches porn?
It kind of weirds me out.
Does it weird you out that he like watches it once in a while, or is it weird like because I know that there's a lot of people girls who get really weirded out when their significant other watches it a lot. I think that would weird me out as well.
Well, it's more like what are you I mean, I know the answer is me, but I'm like, what are you lacking in your life that like this is like what you turn to every morning?
That's where our brains go to. So just for guys who are listening, that's where women's brains go to. Exactly. What are we lacking in our sex life that you want? Even though that's not what it is.
That's
he could
exactly
say everything.
What it is.
Yeah, he'll say everything.
I will stand up for men here. If I was getting it at home every which way, however I wanted it, and my girl was attacking me, I wouldn't turn to porn.
Really?
But I think the desire would still be there because I think men have a fascination with watching women just in general.
I have a fascination with watching
women. If you were completely satisfied, you'd still be watching it.
So is that cheating then? Because I am jerking off to another woman.
A lot of women consider that cheating.
It's like I could eat grilled chicken every day and be completely full, but I still want to go for that Big Mac. And so it's the same thing with porn. Like, you could be totally satisfied because you're getting the right thing all the time, but you're like, but I kind of
let's try this.
I need to dip into some sweet and sour sauce.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we actually have David Boos on the phone, so we are going to take a break for a little bit. One thing I do want to say, one more little thing about porn, is that on my website I have this blog called 3 Myths About Porn, because a lot of the things in porn are actually just done for the camera. So in reality, it's not safe to do them. They can actually hurt people's backs, break their neck, whatever. So that's
why you see like old men with neck bracelets.
Yeah, exactly. Like shit, that didn't work. But so a lot of things in porn are done for the camera and done for camera angles that shouldn't be done in reality. But after the break, we are going to come back with David Boos, the author of The Evolution of Desire, and I'm so excited to talk to him. So we'll talk to you in a bit.
This is an important announcement for anyone with a student loan who is having trouble making their monthly payments. If that's you, pay attention, because there's a special toll-free hotline that has been set up especially for you. So grab a pen and take this number down, or put it in your cell phone. 1-800-652-3707. That's 1-800-652-3707. When you call the National Student Loan Relief Hotline, you will get free information. That's free information to help you relieve the overwhelming financial burden of an ongoing endless student loan. If you are behind, late on payments, or even in default of your student loan, the National Student Loan Relief Hotline can help you. You may also be able to cut your payments in half right away. The National Student Loan Relief Hotline can also stop the harassing phone calls, wage garnishments, and even remove tax liens. The National Student Loan Relief partner companies have helped thousands of people just like you fix their student loan problem. Call 1-800-652-3707 for free information today. That's 1-800-652-3707.
You know, we love hearing from you, so keep on sending those tweets and comments, because we read every one of them. Your opinion is important. That's why we don't want you to miss the chance to take our listener survey at podcast1.com. You see, your responses will help us make this show the very best it can be. It's not a lot of effort, because it'll only take you about 3 minutes, and you'll get the instant gratification that comes with knowing that you helped us get better. So do it now. Take the survey at podcast1.com. That's podcastone.com. And don't forget, keep those tweets and comments coming.
You're listening to the Ask Women podcast, a Podcast One presentation.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Ask Women podcast. If you're still doing holiday shopping, which I'm assuming you're men and you're behind the ball, specifically your own, go to our Amazon page. It's winggirlmethod.com/Amazon, and there we have our holiday gift ideas.
Yeah, and they're really good ones.
Really good ones.
Them.
I pick them. I have great taste. I'm
You do.
amazing. If you guys want to send, I should send the link to my mom, to be honest with you, because she never knows what to get me.
Honestly, you put some good things up there, so I was very impressed and happy that I did not have to do it.
Yes. I was like, damn it, I have to do this, but I did a good job.
Yeah,
but anyway, do that. But right now, we have with us David Boos.
Yes.
David, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey.
Wonderful. Hi. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
Thanks. I assume this is Marni?
This is Marni, and then
This is Kristen.
And this is Mo, the voice of man.
No, he's not.
there are three
David
of us.
Boos is our voice of man currently.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I have been a very big fan of yours since Dr. Drew actually told me about you. I was on Loveline, and I asked him what the reasoning was behind cheating. And he said, oh, you know what? You have to read these books by David Boos. He's phenomenal. I've interviewed him. And so I picked up your book, and I've talked about the book probably like 8 to 10 times on our show. And I keep promising our listeners we're going to do a whole episode on it. But I was really just holding out to get you on the phone because I feel like you would explain it way better than I would.
Okay, sounds good. I do pronounce my name Bus.
Oh, see? I said that.
Well, no, I'm blaming Dr. Drew on this one. He said Boos. He said Boos. And so I was
said
like,
bus, and they said, no, it's Boos.
all right, well, now I'm never taking advice from Dr. Drew
that's
again.
a good thing.
He shouldn't even have a clue now.
That's a good thing that he can't hear you. Your mic should be muted for the rest of this. But, David, I would love for you to explain just a little background about the research that you did and then some of your findings, mainly pertaining to what women want versus what men want.
Sounds good. In long-term or short-term mating, or both?
For both. I know that's a lot of information to ask you, but let's talk short-term mating at first, and then see how long that goes for, and then we'll get into long-term mating.
Okay.
I would just love for you to explain the research that you did and where you got these conclusions from, because I know that you interviewed like thousands of people from all over the world, which I think is fascinating. So, yeah, we'd love to hear about your process and then what the findings were.
Okay, terrific. Well, basically, I do make a distinction in my work between long-term and short-term mating, because what men and women want in a long-term mate differs to some degree compared to what they want in a short-term mate. For the long-term mate, my study involved 37 different cultures and more than 10,000 people from around the world.
I didn't even know there were 37 cultures in the world. I'm very sheltered.
Well, they 37, cultures in a loose sense, of course, because there's cultural transmission and sharing between cultures. But these were pretty diverse. I mean, they range from India, Bangalore, India, to mainland China, to Brazil, Venezuela,
cool.
Practically every European country, and then of course Hawaii, which I insisted on testing personally.
Of course.
But basically, so I can summarize what we found in this 37 culture study pretty succinctly. We found some things that were universally valued. What we were interested in is, what do people want in a spouse or a marriage partner or a long-term committed mate? And we found 3 clusters of findings. One is what men and women universally wanted, and there were no sex differences. So things like mutual attraction, love, good health, kindness, intelligence. These were things that both men and women universally wanted. We found some things that were highly variable across cultures in the desires men and women placed on them. And the most variable across culture was virginity, where we found in places like Iran and mainland China, both sexes placed a tremendous value on virginity, whereas you go to, for example, the Scandinavian countries like Sweden and Norway, and they not only don't value it, they find it somewhat undesirable.
Really?
In a long-term mate.
Understandable.
And so there's a lot of cross-cultural variability on virginity.
Especially if they're going to be a virgin long-term.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right. It interacts, of course, with age. I mean, so being a virgin when you're 15 is not the same as being a virgin when you're 35.
Right.
But then we found these 2 really interesting clusters of sex differences, and the big surprise was how universal they were. And the differences were that women, more than men, valued what I call the resource cluster. So these were things like good job prospects, good financial prospects, as well as the qualities that lead to resources over time. So these are things like, does the guy have ambition? Does he have drive? Is he a hard worker? Intelligence, of course, is important because intelligence is linked with resource acquisition. And then very importantly, social status. Women are very keyed in on social status, both in long-term and in short-term mating. And then on the flip side, what did men value more than women universally? Basically, physical appearance, physical attractiveness, and then also relative youth. That is, a woman who is a few years younger than he is. And so these were universal, and they may not seem so surprising in this day and age that these sex differences exist. But at the time, people believed that these sex differences were just superficial, culturally determined differences that appear perhaps in American or capitalist societies, but would not be found universally. And the fact is that these are universal mate preferences, and that's what my study documented.
Yeah. Well, that's the part that I found so fascinating, that it was universal, and that it wasn't just the United States or, like Western cultures who value sparkly things.
Yeah, and I was surprised at that as well. I mean, I expected some cross-cultural consistency, but I didn't expect it to occur in every single culture that we looked at. And since then, it's been replicated in a dozen other cultures. So, I mean, even the very, very traditional cultures where the, quote, resources are things like, is the guy a good hunter? Is he a reliable provisioner of meat, as opposed to, having a good job or bringing in a large paycheck.
Well, because you said one of the things men were looking for is looks, physical attractiveness. Does this mean that, like, evolutionary-wise, there's really not much hope for long-term relationships in reality?
If you're unattractive?
If you get older and you start to lose your looks, etc.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think it has that conclusion. I mean, I think there is, if you look cross-culturally, people do switch mates sometimes. So it's a divorce and remating is a cross-cultural universal, but some do mate for life. And from an evolutionary perspective, you want, I mean, job one, so to speak, is you want to pick a partner who's fertile. And so aspects of physical appearance, basically cues to health and cues to youth, are powerful cues to fertility. But after a couple get together, after a man and woman get together, they produce children, then they have a tremendous shared interest from an evolutionary perspective, because their children represent the shared vehicles that transport their genes to future generations. Of course, people don't think about this consciously, or even unconsciously. We just any more than when we put food in our mouth and it tastes good. We don't think about the evolutionary nutritive logic of these calories. But we're just operating off of our evolved mating psychology.
Is it true? I'm sorry. Is it true we were talking about at the beginning of the show, and people have this conversation all the time, but men always use the excuse that they were taught, evolutionary-wise, they're supposed to spread their seed.
Yes.
Is there truth to that, where they need several mates all the time?
Well, there's a distinction that has to be made between desire and the expression of desire in behavior. And so it is true that men do have an evolved desire for what's called sexual variety, meaning a variety of different partners. But women do too. Men aren't the only ones. And the issue is, if you're in a long-term relationship, whether you act on those desires. So the Jimmy Carter, former President Carter, had that famous phrase that he had experienced lust in his heart. But as far as we know, he never cheated on his wife. And I've even heard men who describe, when they read my book, The Evolution of Desire, and they realize that men do have this evolved desire for sexual variety. Some say that it helps them to remain more faithful to their girlfriend or wife, because when they find themselves attracted to other people, as we all do, they say to themselves, well, that's my evolved desire for sexual variety. It doesn't mean I don't love my girlfriend or wife anymore. It's just those are two separate mechanisms.
So it's being conscious of it. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think just deeper knowledge of our evolved mating psychology and what it was designed to do gives us greater hope for controlling it. And that's why I make this critical distinction between what we desire and how we express that in behavior. Just like you may desire, if you're on a diet, you may desire to have 3 bowls of ice cream, but you override that desire by a different desire. You want to remain healthy and you want to lose weight.
So would you?
So we have a lot. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Would you say that it's okay for people to be in a relationship and have thoughts of other people, or should they? Is it okay to not feel guilty about that?
Yes,
okay.
I think it is, because I think it's naive. Now, of course, I mean, in the early stages of infatuation and love, people, do only have eyes for you, so to speak. When you're in that phase, you don't notice other people. But that state is, you can't sustain that for more than about 6 months or so. And after about 6 months of a relationship, both men and women sometimes experience attraction to other people. And I think it's a perfectly natural thing. As a matter of fact, I think for both sexes, we have evolved adaptations to do precisely that, because, something could always go wrong. People break up, your partner could run off, your partner could get diseased and die or get killed in a hunting accident. And so something could always go wrong. So it pays to...
You are from Texas, right, Cheney.
Be aware of potential alternatives.
Now, let me ask you a question here, and I know this is a one-sided, egotistical man point of view that I have, but I say it's okay when a man cheats, only because when we cheat, we will have sex with a woman purely based off of how they look. I don't need to talk to her. I don't need to know her. I will just have sex with her based off her body, her face, and that's it. And I will have no emotional connection to this woman whatsoever. She is dead to me. Whereas a woman will cheat on a guy, but I feel like there is more of a emotional connection involved before she actually opens herself to another man. Can you speak on that?
Yes, I can. And you're right that overall there is a sex difference in that men find it easier to have sex without any emotional involvement whatsoever. And women typically require some kind of emotional or psychological involvement and typically get involved with those that they have sex with. So there is an on-average sex difference. However, I wouldn't therefore draw the conclusion that if you're in a long-term committed relationship, that therefore it's okay to cheat sexually, because the problem is that it's the leading cause of breakups.
Right.
Yeah.
And so even though the sex per se is not necessarily damaging from the man's point of view, it can jeopardize trust in the relationship. And the fact is, men, too, just like women, sometimes fall in love with those that they have sex with. And so it's a tremendous threat to the relationship. Right. So I would say, if I had any advice, if you're in a long-term committed relationship, don't cheat.
He was looking for your permission.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask a question? I don't know if you know the answer to this, but for people who have been cheated on, what is a helpful way for them to get over it, to allow themselves to trust again? I know that's a big question, but you might have an answer for it in your findings.
That is a big question, and there is a bit of a sex difference there as well that mirrors the issues that we were just talking about, and that is there's a former graduate student of mine who's now a professor. He just published a paper that was an analysis of this reality show called Cheaters.
Oh.
And what he found is that when people discover that their partner has cheated on them, there's a big sex difference in what he called jealous interrogations. And women want to know, do you love her? That's the first thing they want to know. And men want to know, did you have sex with them?
Yeah.
And so if it's just a sexual thing, like a one-time drunken encounter that the guy engaged in, it's easier for a woman to forgive the guy and for them to get back to a healthy place in the relationship. And similarly, if the woman is not in love with the guy, if the man is not in love with the guy, then it's easier to get back to a trusting relationship. So there's a sex difference with men focusing on the sexual aspects of the infidelity and women focusing on the emotional aspects of the infidelity, because it's those emotional aspects that are the most threatening in terms of the long-term defection from the relationship. But I would say that because the two are correlated with each other, both sexual and emotional infidelity are extremely threatening to committed relationships. And if you look cross-culturally, we have evidence that infidelity and infertility are the two biggest causes of breakup.
Yeah, and I'm sure it affects future relationships as well, right? Like their next potential relationship afterwards.
Yes,
I'm curious about. Did you guys discover anything about like guilt in terms of like religious sexual type of guilt, or
Well, actually, I have a question to add on top of that. What's the reason why people cheat? Because I think that sort of fits into what you're asking. Why do people cheat? Why do men and women cheat?
Well, there are a few reasons, and multiple reasons, and again, they're somewhat sex differentiated. Men are more likely to cheat just if the opportunity presents itself, and it's low cost and low risk of getting caught, that is. And if there's an opportunity, women are more likely to cheat if they are emotionally or sexually unhappy with a relationship. And it may seem obvious that that's the case, that if you're unhappy with a relationship sexually and emotionally, you're more likely to cheat. But the fact is that men can cheat even if they're perfectly happy with a relationship. Mm-hmm. So there is a bit of a sex difference there. And I think that in my research, the primary motivation for women to have affairs is because they're in a relationship that is not working, and they're looking to see if they can do better out there on the mating market, or they meet someone who is another potential mate and think that they might be able to trade up.
Okay.
Now I feel like that's a very primal way of living. If we look at groups of animals, don't they sort of live by the same social hierarchies or social norms that you're describing here that humans live by?
Well, it's all species are different, and every species has a somewhat different mating system. And so even if you look at chimpanzees, who are our closest primate relative, they have a very different mating system where basically they have sex when the female comes into estrus, whereas we have relatively concealed ovulation, and we have sex throughout the ovulation cycle.
Right.
And we have long-term committed relationships. Chimps don't. They just basically have short-term mating during that brief window of estrus. So I would be a little bit leery of drawing generalizations from other animals, just because we're unlike all other animals, and so it depends on which species you want to compare it to.
Right.
Compare us to. We're actually somewhat more like bird species than we are like other primate species. Mm-hmm. And the birds also form long-term committed relationships and do joint child rearing and so forth, but also have a certain percentage of infidelity.
Okay. I have a question based on your first findings that we discussed, not about the cheating stuff. So I would love to paint a picture for the people who are listening. When you talked about what women are attracted to, because you said status, proactiveness.
It actually amazes me though, because so many people who are low class have so many babies that they're not. It just seems like they're not looking. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. I don't know.
Well, they can't all day ball players, okay?
That's
no,
true.
but I guess when I read the book, and I said this to Drew as well, and I was like, oh, the only thing I don't like is that some people are going to read this book and think, oh my God, I have to be rich, have amazing abs, and drive a Bentley. But that's not at all what you're saying. So I would love to paint a broader picture for the people that are listening on things that they can do to be proactive, to display these attributes and characteristics to women, no matter what position they are in life.
Yes. Well, I think it's a great question, and it's important to separate two aspects of this question. One is the resource provisioning aspect. And so it's not so much whether the guy has a Bentley or whether he has a large wad of cash in his wallet, but does he have the personality qualities that lead to reliable resource provisioning? And so things like being emotionally stable, being dependable as opposed to being erratic or impulsive or flighty or not a good worker. So those are some things that are under men's control. But also, I mean, women look for, does the guy have goals? Does he have drive? Does he have a clear sense of where he's going in life? Or is he just wandering and aimless? That's also something that men can have control over. And then there are other things, kind of smaller things that may seem small to men, but I think do loom large in women's mating psychology. And those are things like good hygiene.
Yeah.
Does he take care of himself? Is he well groomed? Does he make sure he's clean, or is he sloppy? Does he forget to take a shower? Is his, et cetera. So those things. I mean, just as an example. Women, and this is some work that I'm working on right now on an emotion that we call sexual disgust. That women
I've experienced that.
Women are simply more turned off by all those bad hygiene things than men are, and so men are often oblivious. So like a bunch of guys living together, think the bathroom gets filthy, and they don't attend to that stuff, whereas most women would be just grossed out by that.
Why is that? Sorry to interrupt you, but why is it? Because we've talked about that on our show before. Why is it that we're turned off by the opposites to everything you've just stated?
I think that the reason for the sex difference is that women, from an evolutionary point of view, the threat of basically it's pathogen or disease infection is a double threat for women. That is, they risk not only contracting it, but also passing it on to their children. Plus, they've even shown this with sexually transmitted diseases, that if you have sex with someone who has a sexually transmitted disease, a woman is more likely to contract that from a man than a man is from a woman, just because of the nature of our reproductive organs.
Right.
So, so the dangers are simply higher for women of having sex with somebody who is potential carrier of pathogens.
That's interesting. I could probably ask you a million questions, and I would love to keep you on the phone for 4 more hours. But we have a segment that's called Analyze This. And again, people should go out and buy David's book because it is fantastic. It is The Evolution of Desire. It's on Amazon. I'll actually have a link to it. It's winggirlmethod.com/evolution. Hopefully people can spell that. But yeah, winggirlmethod.com/evolution, and that's where David's book will be, and it's just fantastic. But I want to get to some questions for Analyze This, and I hope that you can stick around and have time to answer some of the questions that we have from our listeners.
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So here is a question I have. Okay. Hope you are doing good. I have this question in my mind I would like to share with you. I have noticed that girls tend to be very moody. One moment they are speaking, and the other, they are completely on a different track. Oh, speaking and being very nice, and then next minute they're on a completely different track. Also, what I believe is that speaking to a new girl requires lots of courage, and approaching being the most important step. Okay, forget that part. The main question is, why are girls moody? Why do girls get moody?
Well, I think that is a great question and a complicated one, and I don't think there's a simple answer to it. So even in things like attraction, a woman's attraction to a man is dependent on so many different things. So there are a whole host of studies that I summarized in my book, The Evolution of Desire, that look at things like how is the guy dressed. And so women will find a guy who is dressed in nice clothes more attractive than a guy who's, say, dressed in a Burger King outfit.
Right.
On
the weekends, not even at Burger King. Yeah, just like how.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah.
is he interacting positively with a puppy or with a baby, or is he ignoring a baby who's in distress or being mean to a pet? What is the stage of her menstrual cycle?
Right.
There are all women are sensitive to, and their attraction to a man is sensitive to so many variables, whereas men's attraction to a woman is simply less sensitive to these circumstances and contexts. And so what you have to do is look at all the different variables. And women are their mating psychology is more complicated than that of men's.
It really is. I had an experience a couple nights ago that is essentially what you just explained, minus the Burger King outfit. But my boyfriend and I got a Christmas tree, and I'm probably going to be menstruating at some point soon. and he couldn't get the tree to stand straight in the stand. And he just said, "That's fine. It's fine. It looks fine." And it really bothered me. It bothered me on a level of obviously I want the tree to look not ridiculous, but also that I wanted him to be, quote unquote, a man and actually take the time to do something correct and right. And I would have found that very attractive. So as the night progressed, I started to get moody at little things that he was doing because it all started to add up. Like, you're not adding up. You're not being sufficient. And so then something happened and it just set me off, and I was in a very bad mood from that point on.
Yeah, I have that too. Well, actually,
and I got very moody. And it's like, I don't want to blame him, but at the same time, there are expectations that women have for men, and then if they're not met, sometimes the woman, it can just hit her the completely wrong way, even if it's the smallest thing.
It sounds so unfair for men, though.
Sorry?
It sounds so unfair for men. So how do men combat this? Because it sounds like they walk on eggshells all the time.
But the tree and straight,
that's a good question. And I think part of it is just understanding each other's psychology, including mating psychology, and understanding that it is different. Men, it's actually one of the most frequent complaints in my studies of couples. One of the most frequent complaints by men is that their partners are moody. And one of women's most frequent complaints is that guys are emotionally not in touch with their emotions and are emotionally insensitive. And so I think that women are more emotional or emotionally expressive in both good and bad ways. So on the good side, they're more in touch with their feelings, express them more, and are more sensitive to more contextual variables. And on the negative side, it can sometimes come off as being excessively moody, or the guy says hello and then she blows up at him and he doesn't know why. He doesn't know that there in fact was this long history of cumulative events leading to this.
Oh no, do we lose him? Okay, he's going to come back on the phone, but that was really, I could listen to him talk for hours. He's got a good voice.
Well, I actually want to ask him about if he has children and at what point he started educating them on sex. I mean, they must be the most comfortable sexual beings in the entire world.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, as of my family, we never mentioned it. And I'm like, oh, my dad is... my dad was a professor of biology, or a teacher of biology. Not professor. He's so not a professor. I don't know. I just said that.
But still, no, but it is really interesting, because when I do hear this, because I'm the exact same way. I have little things that will set me off, and just for me, when I look at my husband sometimes, I'm like, that was not masculine. And then he knows how to sway it back. But when he is working a lot and he is really tired and doesn't have time to give me as much, and he shouldn't because he's working his ass off, he doesn't have time to balance it out, and it becomes this longer tension for us, and the moodiness sticks. Yeah. And it's difficult.
Hello.
Oh, you're back. I'm sorry we lost you, but that was a fantastic answer. So very helpful. I have one more question, and then we are going to wrap things up. But you have been fantastic, honestly. And we were just talking about how sexy your voice is. So just letting you know that. Okay. So need some advice. My girlfriend doesn't mind doing most stuff, but she's completely scared or something of sex. I can't figure it out what it is because I don't know how to read people. She says stuff like, "I'm afraid of getting pregnant." Easy solution. But then she says that if it happens, it could never be classified as a mistake. What is going through her head? Would love some help. Ivan.
Well, I don't know if there's quite enough information to really provide a coherent answer to that, but sometimes. Sorry?
I was going to say, well, maybe providing Ivan with some direction on what he could do to help get more information out of his girlfriend.
Well, one thing might be, is she doing what I call pinging? That is she testing him to see whether, he's committed enough to want to have a kid?
Yeah.
Do we know how long they've been together?
No. I know. We tell them to be concise, and then they don't give enough information. So, no, we don't have that information.
Yeah. But I don't know, if in terms of sexual responsiveness and sexual exploration, that's, I would say take things one step at a time. Don't start out, bringing out the whips and chains and chandeliers that,
that's beginner level. Well, I will speak to that. And the question again was basically she's not having sex and she's avoiding
scared of sex and she's giving excuses as to why.
I am very much the same way. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at the question earlier that I had about guilt. I grew up Catholic. We never talked about sexuality. I looked at it. It was something weird. It made me uncomfortable. It gave me like this, I was like, ooh, it grossed me out. And it scares me altogether, and I'm 30 years old, and it's like pretty pathetic. What is a cause for that, and why, and how can someone get over it and start to get comfortable?
Well, that's a great question, and in terms of the sexuality, it really gets classified into different subsets of issues. One has to do with guilt. That you mentioned, in childhood upbringing and for various forms of religious indoctrination. So that's one set of things. But another set of things has to do with sexual desire. And there are just individual differences in desire. There are individual differences in ease of sexual arousal, and then there are individual differences in ease of orgasm. And so the first thing I think is to locate where the problem is. Is it a guilt issue, or is it a problem of low sexual desire, or is it a problem of difficulty in having sexual arousal or orgasm? And sort of the prescriptions for what you do about these things depend on what the underlying cause of the lack of interest in sex is.
Right. I've always just said, it's just me. That's just who I am.
But you should want to look into it a little bit more and dig deeper and figure out where it does come from rather than just sort of shoving it to the side.
But in a way, I'm okay with just letting it be. It's well, that's who I am, and I move on. I don't know. I'll find a hobby.
One final question I do want to ask you is actually about the moodiness, and you may not have an answer for this, but it's for men and for women. So when this moodiness does occur in women, where they look at a man and they're like, "You're not masculine enough," or "You're not doing something right now," which triggers moodiness. What is one thing that a man can do to help this, and what is one thing that a woman can do to calm this?
Well, I don't know. I guess from the guy's perspective, just being sensitive to her and realizing that often she's not necessarily responding to the immediately preceding event, but that there might be a longer history of this sort of thing, and just waiting it out. Well, what can I do, honey, to make you feel better? Sorry I irritated you. What can I do to make you feel better? What a woman can do is maybe realize that from a guy's perspective, sometimes his moodiness seems irrational because it's not connected to the immediate, causal event, but rather to a longer history of these things.
But yet, it feels really rational to you.
Yeah, you're just like, come on, dude, step it up. It's funny because I would say that for men, what they could do actually is they could read your book and then look at the characteristics and attributes that you've listed as being very attractive to women, and then find some way to display one of those attributes to her. Because for me, if I were to see one of those attributes in the moment that I was moody, that would restore my faith in the man that's sitting in front of me who I have selected. Because typically when I'm moody, Yes, it's hormonal sometimes. But typically when I'm moody, it's because I haven't seen displays of those attributes for a short period of time, possibly a long period of time. And that's where the moodiness and disappointment comes from, to be honest. And I, like as women, we kind of like, we subtly say, step it up to show us these things, but it's kind of hard to also say, like, come on, step it up and do something to show me you're still that guy. So I would say to look at those attributes and just like learn how to display them in a moment's notice. And you could I think that would win me over, to be honest. And I think for women, I think it's just being really conscious of the fact of why you are being moody, and then maybe have a list of 10 things of why that man is amazing. And then maybe when you are more calm, you can have a conversation with him about things that you may need in the relationship to see that there's still some connection and love there.
Yeah, I think that's a great set of suggestions. And I mean, in a way, I talk about those in the last chapter of The Evolution of Desire under the topic of fulfillment of desire. What can you do to fulfill the desires that your partner has? And it's precisely what you mentioned, displaying those attributes that are desired.
Awesome. So we're on the same page because I didn't read that last chapter, so I didn't cheat. Awesome. Okay, well, David, thank you so much for being on this show. I could talk to you for hours, but everybody who is listening to this call, please pick up a copy of David's book. It's winggirlmethod.com/evolution. His book is called The Evolution of Desire, and it is amazing. I think it's such an insightful book about both sexes and just like the behaviors of people from all over the world, and it's just fascinating. But again,
I'm so sorry. I did want to ask one really quick question.
Oh, God.
One last quick question. Would you say, after doing all your research across all different cultures, that interracial or intercultural relationships work, or are they, a lost cause?
Yeah. They're working more and more in the modern times, but they are difficult. So if you have differences in
that's good.
religion,
That's me and my husband.
Differences in worldviews, differences in cultures, even differences in marriage systems, these pose more difficulties. So the breakup rates are higher.
Yeah. I just listed everything that my husband and I have that are different from one another, except for the marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. But they are increasingly working, and they're increasingly common. So love can sometimes triumph.
I love that. That's a great way to end.
Very sweet.
Again, winggirlmethod.com/evolution. David, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you to everybody listening to the show. New episodes of the Ask Women podcast come out every Thursday, so please download them, or I think some people automatically it downloads for you.
Well, subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. And subscribe, definitely. And then you can download that at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. And also go check out our gift guide, winggirlmethod.com/Amazon. Kristen put together an amazing list of gifts to get for any woman in your life, whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter, your mother, your sister, any woman in your life. There's a gift for her there. And we will see you next week.
Yeah. See you then.